learn Japanese in particular?
Learn
Have you ever
Japanese.
heard of Pokemon, Mario, or PlayStation?
Wait, you're talking my language,
Yes,
bitch?
Japan.
Oh my god, yes!
Japanese pop
You
culture is
know me
huge.
so
Many
well.
animations,
Oh my
comics, and
god.
games that are loved by
Yes.
people from all over the world were created in Japan. Not everything gets translated
Tokyo
either, so
Church.
unless you know Japanese, you're missing out on a lot of amazing things that Japanese pop culture has to offer.
So clearly, there are many, many reasons why you should learn Japanese.
Okay then.
Okay,
we've talked
I'm
about all the
convinced.
stuff about the
You
language
got
and why
me.
you should start learning.
You're right.
But
You're
let's get
right.
started, Risa.
Well, it's as simple as learning your first word in Japanese and building up
That's
from
right.
there.
The good news, though, is that you already know some Japanese.
Yes, that's
Sushi,
true.
samurai, karaoke.
These are words that
Karaoke.
are made in English, but the
I don't
reverse is also
pronounce
true.
it correctly,
Many
but I
English words
know
also make
it.
their way into Japanese.
Ice cream, beer, butter.
In fact, 10% of all Japanese words used today come from English. This means that you already know a little more than 10% of all the words that exist in Japanese.
Oh yes, I know these
Why
words.
not enough?
Oh my god! Yes, this kind of Japanese word, you know. Grande sponsor, no takio desu. Okarishimasu. Yes, I do know these kind of words, yes.
Oh, that is very useful. Arigato. It means thank you
Chat,
in
do you
Japanese.
exist again?
That's a useful phrase.
And
Can
if
you
so,
explain a
do you
little bit about
know
what these characters are, though?
of these Japanese
Actually,
words?
the Japanese writing system called kana.
The ones that
And it's
are
not as
English
hard as it looks.
words?
Japanese doesn't use alphabetical letters in its writing system like English does. Instead,
No
it uses set of
alphabetical
characters
letters,
called
bitches.
kana. You can think of each character as a syllable. A, ri,
Oh yeah, that's right.
to, u.
You'll learn the Japanese writing system eventually, but for now, let's put up some romanization to help get you started.
This romanization is called romaji, and it allows you to read Japanese before you become familiar with Japanese characters.
That certainly makes things
What?
much easier to learn. Well, okay then. Now let's go and repeat after Risa.
Arigato.
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 Your turn again.
Arigato.
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 Well done. Now you know how to say thank you in Japanese. We've covered a lot of things already, so why don't we
No,
start
we
with the first
haven't,
lesson?
really. We haven't.
In this lesson, you learn that studying another language has many benefits.
No,
such as
okay, you don't need to
providing
recap this shit.
Japan has
Please.
a colorful history with many things for you to see and learn, and to say thank you in Japanese is...
Arigato.
Arigato gozaimasu. Arigato gozaimasu.
Welcome to Introduction to Japanese.
Pronouns. I love pronouns. Chat. You love pronouns?
In this lesson,
Everything.
you'll learn the basics of Japanese pronunciation.
Everything
Pronunciation
about
refers to
getting
the manner in which a word is
pronouns
spoken,
correct.
so don't focus on reading what's on screen. Instead, focus on listening and repeating. Japanese is what is called a mora-timed language. What this simply means is that every
Mora-timed?
character in Japanese, which you can think of as a syllable, occupies the same length of time.
Sumimasen.
Ah,
Sumimasen.
no
Notice how
accent.
each character is
No.
pronounced for an equal amount of time.
Accented
Sumimasen.
syllable.
No character takes up more or less time than the other characters. Every character is valued equally and is pronounced evenly throughout.
Sumimasen.
English, on the other hand, is a stress-timed language. Syllables that are stressed are valued greater than syllables that are unstressed. Opportunity.
Stress
The
time.
stressed syllable to in opportunity is deemed more important, so it's pronounced longer than all other syllables. Listen to it again. Opportunity. This gives English a machine-gun-like rhythm, but the pace is sometimes fast, and at other times slow. One last time. Opportunity. Compare this once again with Japanese, which is steady and even throughout.
Sumimasen.
Because equal value is given to each character, there is no word stress in Japanese. When pronouncing Japanese words, try to imagine a constant stream of syllables flowing out from your mouth. There are 5 characters in Japanese that signify a vowel sound.
あ、い、う、え、お。
Apart from these 5 characters, all other characters, except for one that we will cover shortly, is made up of a consonant sound and one of these vowel sounds.
か、き、く、け、こ、さ、し、す、せ、そ、た、ち、つ、て、と。
And so on. Only this character here is kind of special. It's a consonant sound without a vowel sound.
There we go. Now I can see.
So to recap, a Japanese character could be a vowel,
あ、
or more commonly made up of one consonant and one vowel,
か、
or it could just be this consonant sound on its own.
ん。
Now you know the possible sounds that make up a Japanese character, but let's look at all the sounds in Japanese collectively. In the previous lesson, you realized that you already know 10% of all words in Japanese, which is a miracle. But are you also aware that you already know roughly 80% of all sounds in Japanese too? That means that if you were to simply imitate a Japanese speaker, your pronunciation would be correct roughly 80% of the time. For example, listen and repeat after Risa.
わさび、
Wasabi.
わさび。
Wasabi.
Chances are your pronunciation was pretty spot on. The W, S, and B sounds are practically identical to English. The sounds may be the same, but don't forget that Japanese isn't a stress-timed language like English. So instead of stressing the second syllable like wasabi, make it easy to
Wasabi.
try again.
Wasabi.
わさび。
Wasabi.
Nearly all sounds in Japanese are
Wasabi.
identical to English, like the W, S, and B sounds in this example. Since you already know how to pronounce most of these sounds, we only need to pay attention to the handful of sounds that are completely new. They're the ones.
I know other Japanese words
In the
like
previous lesson, we taught you
meow.
how to say thank you in Japanese.
Arigato gozaimasu.
It's...
ありがと
This word is often romanized like this. Focus on the second
Arigato.
character. It's often written as an R and an I, but don't be fooled. This character isn't pronounced using an English R sound at all.
Ari.
It's like a mixture between an R and an L sound. There's no such sound in English, but most people would transcribe this using the letter R because that's the closest equivalent there is in English. Pronouncing it like an English R, however, would be a huge mistake. To pronounce this sound, lightly tap the gum ridge behind your upper teeth with the tip of your tongue. It should be a quick, striking motion, similar to the sensation you get when pronouncing the T in words like butter, cutter, and so on. Don't roll your tongue like an English R. Most of the air should go around the sides of your tongue, the same way it would when pronouncing an L sound. This is why many people describe this sound as in between an R and an L sound. Listen and repeat after Risa.
う。り、り、ありがとう、ありがとう。
Well done! Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned.
Yo,
In
we
this
haven't
lesson,
learned
we
shit
learned the
yet.
or a time
Damn.
where syllables are pronounced for an equal amount of time. Japanese characters can represent
Okay,
a
I
single
mean,
vowel sound, a
slow
consonant
walking
and a vowel,
us.
or a single consonant sound. Collectively, nearly all the sounds in Japanese are identical to the sounds in English, and there are only a handful of new sounds that you need to learn. Hi, welcome to Introduction to Japanese. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by...
Hi everyone, I'm Risa.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Japanese grammar. Word order refers to the order in which words are structured to form a sentence in a given language. Consider the English sentence, I ate an apple. But first, let's remove the article an here for simplicity, so we're just left with I ate apple. The basic word order for English is subject, verb, object, or SVO for short. If we break down the English sentence, I ate apple, we can see that the subject I is presented first, followed by the verb ate, and finally the object apple is positioned last. This is the basic word order for sentences in English.
Now, let's compare the same sentence, I ate an apple, in Japanese. 私がリンゴを食べました。Like before, let's remove the particles to keep it simple. So we're just left with the words. If we break down the Japanese sentence, we get the subject, 私, meaning I. Then comes the object, リンゴ, meaning apple.
Ringo.
finally, we have the verb 食べました meaning ate.
食べま
The
し
word
た。
order for
I
Japanese
apple
is
ate.
subject, verb, or SOV for short.
In both languages, the subject is presented first. In English, though, it's followed by the verb and then the object, compared to the object being first and the verb last in Japanese. The same
Ringo.
sentence in Japanese is essentially I apple ate, subject first, then object,
私
and
リンゴ
verb last.
食べま
This is the
し
basic
た。
word order for sentences in Japanese.
私
Okay, let's move on to the next section.
食べました。
English is what is called a subject-prominent language. This simply means that the subject is slightly more important than other components in the sentence. It's the key piece of information other components in the sentence relate to. Who is doing the action is slightly more important than what is being done or which object it's being done to in English. If we had to slowly remove pieces of information from a sentence while trying to keep its essence intact, logically we would do so in order of least important to most important. If we were to omit the subject, we would get ate an apple, which sounds strange. On the other hand, if we were to omit the object instead, the sentence would become I ate. Even though in each instance we omitted a piece of information, the reason I ate sounds less strange is because we've yet to break any grammatical rules, and so there's still potential for the sentence fragment to become a complete sentence and to become grammatically correct. Since the latter is logical, this indicates that the subject is more important than the object in English. The same would have been true if we had omitted the verb. Since the subject is the integral component in the sentence, this makes English a subject-prominent language.
Japanese, on the other hand, is a topic-prominent language. Unlike English, the focus of each Japanese sentence is the
私
subject.
がリンゴを
Essentially, ate an apple. Ringo
食べまし
is
た。
the main
食べ
focus
ま
of
し
the
た。
sentence,
食べまし
where
た。
I is deemed less important than omitted.
In fact, if it's obvious what the subject is, or if it's already been
リ
established,
ンゴ
it's quite normal to omit the subject from a conversation altogether in Japanese. Let's look at this aspect in a bit more detail. More often than not, if you wanted to say, I ate an apple in Japanese, you would not say,
私がリンゴを食べました
instead, you would more likely say,
リン
apple
ゴ
ate in
を
Japanese.
食べ
リ
ま
ンゴを食
した。
べました
Since Japanese is a topic-prominent language, the information to be shared is the act of eating the apple. Less important is the subject, which is omitted altogether. Most Japanese sentences are constructed and spoken like this in real life. In most situations, such as a one-on-one conversation, it's clear that the person who's speaking is the subject. In cases where it's obvious who or what the subject is, it's almost guaranteed that the subject will be omitted. And so you're left with,
リンゴを食べました
リン
on
ゴ
the
を
other hand,
食
when
べま
it's
し
unclear
た。
who or what the subject is, or if you wanted to place emphasis on the subject, like if you wanted to declare from a group of people that it was you who ate the apple, then you would include the subject.
私がリンゴを食べました
But more often than not,
私がリンゴを
most
食べ
sentences
ま
spoken in daily Japanese conversation
した。食べ
can
ま
be
し
spoken
た。
without including the
食べ
subject
ま
at
し
all,
た。
particularly if that subject is you.
箱を開けました電車
箱
で帰
を
りま
開
した
けました。
Knowing this, we can easily express any simple action in Japanese using just the object and the verb. Try to create the sentence, I ate a hot dog, from these sets of words.
食べましたホットドッグを
ホットドッグを食べました。
Okay, got it?
は
The
い。
object goes first,
はい。
so let's put hot dog here. And the verb goes
ホ
last,
ット
so
ド
let's
ッグ
put ate at the
を
end.
食べ
Finally,
ま
we
し
connect
た。
them using the appropriate particle.
ホットドッグ。
That's it.
ホットドッグを食べま
ホッ
した
トドッグを食べ
I
ま
ate a
し
hot
た。
dog in Japanese.
ホットドッグを食べました
ホ
You
ット
can
ド
create any
ッグを
basic sentence like this in Japanese
食べました
if you simply know the word for the object and the verb in Japanese. Well done. Let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned. In this lesson, you learned that Japanese sentences are formed using a subject-object-verb, or SOV, word order. The most important aspect of Japanese sentences is not the subject of the sentence, but the topic. Most sentences spoken in Japanese will not actually contain a subject, especially if that subject is obvious, like when it's yourself, the speaker. And lastly, you can create basic sentences in Japanese by putting the object first and the verb last. Hi, welcome to Introduction to Japanese. My name is Alicia, and I'm joined by
Hi everyone, I'm Risa.
In this lesson, you'll learn the basics of Japanese writing. In English, we use one script, the English alphabet, to write. To write in Japanese, however, you will need to use three different scripts together.
And they are hiragana, katakana, and kanji.
Hiragana, katakana, and kanji.
Instead of 26 letters, however, we have 46 characters. Each character represents one syllable. These 5 characters, for example, represent the 5 vowels in Japanese.
A, I, U, E, O.
All of the characters except for one are made up of a consonant along with these vowels.
Ka, ki, ku, ke, ko, sa, shi, su, se, so, and so on. Katakana is almost exactly the same as hiragana. The only difference is that it's written a little differently. A, I, U, E, O, ka, ki, ku, ke, ko. Hiragana is more aggressive, while katakana has a logic story. The same script is kanji.
Kanji is the use of Chinese characters in Japanese writing. This is because Japanese writing actually originated from China.
Right. A long time ago, Japan only used Chinese characters. Today, we use all three scripts together to write Japanese. Unlike hiragana and katakana, kanji is not divided up.
They actually contain entire words that
Oh no.
in the alphabet, there are thousands and thousands of kanji characters.
Not to mention, there are many different ways you can read them too. So the pronunciation actually changes according to the context.
Okay, now you know that there are 3 different scripts used to write Japanese, but why is this the case? Let's look at each script in a little more detail.
I understand.
You can think of hiragana as the default script used to write most things in Japanese.
It's the most common of the 3 scripts because it's used to write functional words, including most grammatical particles, such as possessive,
No.
Watashi no pen.
Watashi no pen. My pen.
Iru.
as a subject marker,
Wa.
わ、わ、
今日は学生です.
and it can also be used to write words that lack a kanji rendition or whose kanji is obscure or considered too difficult for the reader to understand. Additionally, it's used as inflectional endings for adjectives and verbs together with kanji.
glitching hard tonight. I don't know why. I'm pretty glitchy sometimes.
In theory, you could use this script to write everything in Japanese.
For this reason, it's generally best to learn hiragana first. We mentioned before that katakana is almost exactly the same as hiragana. The only difference is that it looks slightly different.
This is the least common of the 3 scripts because it's used to write foreign words and names,
Computer, bill,
Computer,
John,
bill,
and onomatopoeic sounds.
wan wan, yang. It's common to learn katakana after you learn hiragana because of their similarities.
The final script is kanji, which is undoubtedly the hardest one of all to learn. Kanji is used to write most words of native Japanese or of historically Chinese origin. This includes most nouns,
人、
hito,
こ、
the stems of most verbs and adjectives,
見る、
miru,
行く、
iku,
赤い、
ata,
怖い、
kawaii,
and most personal and place names.
田中、
anata,
ひろこ、
hiroko,
東京、
Tokyo,
大阪。
Osaka.
Learning kanji may be difficult since there are thousands and thousands of them. They are, however, an integral part of Japanese writing. Okay, let's wrap up this lesson by recapping what we've learned.
In this lesson, you learned that there are 3 different scripts used to write Japanese.
Okay,
Hiragana
that's
is
kind
the
of
most
boring.
common, and it's used to write functional words and particles. Katakana
You're going really slow, child, and I don't know. Write this in Japanese? Dirty? I don't know how to write dirty. What do I look like? A dirty girl? Don't answer that.
汚い、
What? 甘い
甘い、欲しい、
欲しい I mean, that kind of sounds dirty. Let's make it Hoshi. Let's try that. No, it's no. Yeah, I don't
3
San. Ichi, san. Yeah.
欲しい、
欲しい Is it sweet? It's not. It's what? Where in Japanese?
読む、夜、着る、
Yes, I got it right. I guess.
4 3
Definitely san.
私、 1
背中、
I have no idea. Is it that? Sure. I was right. Senaka? Senaka back. Okay.
甘い、
Hanai?
欲しい、甘い、
Oh. Yeah. Hanai. And that's easy.
ヨーロッパ、
おはよ
Super impressive.
ドイツ、
That's Germany.
マドリード、
That's
イ
Madrid.
ンド、
And that's probably that one.
う、イギリス出身です。
Um,
イギリス出身です。
I'm from the UK. Oh.
先生、おはようございます。
どうぞよろしくお願いします。
Nice to meet you. Yes.
フランス人です。 イギリス人です。 イギリス人です。 イギリス人です。
I don't know. This is like weird. No idea. I'm British. Okay. vTuber does. Yeah, I'm British. Yes. I know. I recognize that.
ではありません。
No.
アメリカ人
America Jim
も
Death. No? No. Who's death?
です。
Death. Yes.
スウェーデン
Sweden right there. This is just a pretense, you know? I'm from the UK.
イギリス出身はじめまして
はじめまして。
です。
Something does.
人
Kita?
イギリス
English? 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 Okay, I got it. English
で
desk.
す。
I think so. No. English something does. 人は No. はじめまして。It wasn't that one. It was something. 人。
フランス出身です。
フランス出身です。
フランスはじめまして。出身
出身
です。
はじめまして。
はじめまして。マリアです。
スウェーデン。
スウェーデン
It's easy. It's not 1 o'clock.
は1時
It's just that's 1.
0
0
2 1時であり0はませんで
I don't know.
アメリカ出身です。
アメリカン出身です。
アメリカ出身です。
Oh yeah. Sorry. Hit it down.
い ち に に に
A little bit basic, but that's okay.
いちに
1 1 1
に
I feel the dopamine sinking into my brain. Oh yeah, baby. Wonder Street. Unlocking gifts. Sure, sure, sure. Let's not do that.
よ、
Yeah.
さ、
Sa.
さ、
Sa.
さ、
Mm.
4、
Yeah.
よ、3、ち、よ、2、さ、さ、ち、ち、さ、よ、い、ん、
3、4、
Lingot? We got lingots. Is that like for leg mud grind sets or something? Are we gonna do leg mud grind set?
く、が、
No.
ど、く、ど、
Huh?
6、
Raku?
ん、
No.
ど、
No.
な、
Yes.
7、
No, no.
ど、 な、 い、 く、
7、
Nana. 7?
ど、 な、 く、 ん、 い、
Leg mud grind set.
6、
Yay. Okay, that's it.
ど、
Oh,
7、
Nana 7. Yay. Here's your phone. Oh.
はい、
Yes.
おはよう、わ、い、ど、お、お、 お、
just gonna finish up this grind set here.
O, ka,し、か、
Pretty challenging stuff, but it does help you get it in your head.
赤、
Aka.
か、あ、白、
Shira. Shira.
青、
Owl.
と、か、あ、あ、し、う、し、ち、お、か、よ、あ、し、さ、あ、か、
白、
Which one was this again?
赤、
Yes, fine.
青、
Let's see blue.
白、
赤、